and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's edition of the Sunday Wire. I'm your host, Patrick Henningsen. We're streaming out live at 21stcenturywire.com, the alternate current radio network, as well as Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, Facebook Live, and also streaming out live on X. Again, I'm your host, Patrick Henningsen. Got a very important broadcast today. We're going to be covering some very important material. There's breaking news overnight. Yesterday, Donald Trump declared war on Yemen, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. We'll go through some of the details of this, and then later we'll also be joined by some of our members of the team here at 21st Century Wire and Alternate Current Radio to discuss this story, plus other big breaking news stories, and that's the theme of the show today. This really is Trump's war on Yemen, as well as Israel's war on Yemen. And this is the difficult thing, ladies and gentlemen, to try to tease apart what is Israel's priorities and policies and what are the United States' priorities and policies. It's really becoming very, very hard to tell the difference. It's hard to decipher who is actually running foreign policy in the United States. This is becoming more and more tangled and more difficult. And this weekend is really the perfect example of this conundrum that the United States finds itself in, but also the Trump administration finds itself in. Just a couple of months in to the presidency, and Donald Trump has already started his first new war. So he's an undeclared war of aggression, basically in no certain terms declaring war on Yemen. And the statements made by Marco Rubio, we'll take a look at those shortly. But this is disturbing to say the least. Let's be clear, Yemen did not attack the United States, although the United States has bombed Yemen and killed civilians before this weekend. So the U.S. has already been at war with Yemen, even though Yemen's been very clear about its intentions, about why it's enforcing a naval blockade in the Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandeb Straits. They've been very clear about this. They're opposing Israel's ongoing genocide in Gaza. And what's interesting about this latest and spat here, we'll bring this up here. Trump orders attack on militant sites in Yemen and issues a warning to Iran. So this is just kind of getting ridiculous at this point. Totally unspecific, completely all over the place. If this passes for foreign policy, ladies and gentlemen, we are in big trouble. And here is the other problem here. Trump, or whoever's operating his Twitter account, it's very hard to tell if it's the thoughts and words of the actual president, or it's just one of his aides or one of the other hotheads who writes these things. It's kind of ridiculous. I mean, if we showed you these truths or whatever they are on Truth Social, all caps with exclamation marks, it's like an adolescent is running the Twitter account or the social media account. It's not how statesmen talk. It's not how diplomats talk. Marco Rubio has also adopted this kind of flippant, sort of crazed adolescent style of communicating U.S. foreign policy through social media. It's kind of ridiculous at this point, but it does have serious implications. And one of the problems here is Donald Trump has basically laid out, or the Trump administration's laid out an ultimatum. They said if Iran doesn't engage in negotiations on nuclear talks, that there'll be military consequences. So the U.S. is basically threatening Iran, saying, if you don't come to the table to discuss nuclear control or whatever, it's based on this accusation that Iran has nuclear weapons, but there's never been any evidence to prove that, or not anything even close. Okay, so this is all. Where is this coming from? It's all coming from Israel. So Israel's told the U.S. to tell the Iranians they don't come to the table to negotiate nuclear weapons reduction of weapons they don't have. Of course, makes it all more ridiculous. But if they don't come to the table, the U.S. is going to attack them militarily. So if you don't negotiate with us, we're going to attack you. Now, I don't know about you, and my little knowledge of negotiations, having a master's degree in international relations, global security, studying game theory, so I have a little bit of knowledge in negotiations. And also as a journalist, having covered all these events over the years, your opening gambit isn't to threaten the other side, that if they don't come to the table, you're going to bomb them, okay? This is how the other side will not come to the table to talk to you, okay? Second thing, and this should be the obvious thing, but of course, I'm talking to the MAGA audience. Those of you who are able to grasp what I'm saying, I applaud you for opening up your brains for some level of functionality. But the rest of you, you're a lost cause if you don't understand this basic concept. It is so patently ridiculous that the Trump administration is demanding Iran come to talk about nuclear weapons, okay? When it was the Trump administration in May 2018 who dispatched its stooge, Mike Pompeo, or should I say Netanyahu's stooge, the U.S. Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, along with the full knowledge and approval of Donald Trump, to kill the Iran nuclear deal that was already in place. Our country, our government, you paid for 5 years of preparation and negotiations to put the JCPOA Iran nuclear deal together. That happened under the Obama administration. One of the most useful things that Obama did, one of the few useful things he did as president. It was already in place, had total control, total international oversight, a completely bulletproof deal that ensured Iran would not be pursuing any nuclear weapons, and that its nuclear material that could be used for weapons was being transported out of the country and dealt with accordingly. Okay, Trump destroyed that. And when he destroyed that in 2018 in his first term, he pushed the region and the world closer to war. Okay, you gave Iran the incentive to pursue nuclear weapons at that point. Because what you said is, no matter what we negotiate, no deal is good enough. Israel can veto any deal. Israel will veto any treaty or any deal that it does not like. Okay, so whatever you come to terms with now, and so it could be short-lived. This is a game, because if you engage in negotiations with Israel, you know what the negotiations are going to be like. They'll make an impossible deal. They'll screw you 10 different ways, and then they'll scream bloody murder if you don't accept the deal. Then they'll blame you for the consequences, which are they're going to bomb you, or they in the U.S. will bomb you, and they'll blame the victim for it, saying, we offered you a perfectly good deal, and oh, they rejected it. I can't believe we're so generous. That's not negotiations. The U.S. is trying the same tactic with Russia. Same exact Israeli tactic, which is front load a ridiculous negotiation, opening gambit, knowing that the other side will never accept it, and then blaming the other side for rejecting it. That's the Israeli formula. They've done it for decades. This is why the region is in the state it's in, because of that. So now Israel is dictating to Washington, to the Trump administration, its envoys, how to conduct negotiations. And they're doing it Israeli style. That's a recipe for world war, quite frankly. This is a disaster. The U.S., Trump, Rubio have fumbled the ball in Gaza. They're fumbling the ball in Ukraine. And they're going to fumble the ball with Yemen and Iran as well. 0 for 3. 0 for 3. That's called you've struck out. You've struck out. It's been 2 months. You're 0 for 3 already. You whiffed 3 times. You fumbled 3 times. Why? Because you are using Israeli tactics and you're not engaged with reality about what's going on. Okay. Second thing, Yemen was not attacking anybody. There were not any attacks, although their leadership issued a warning that if Israel does not lift the blockade on Gaza, that's right, after genociding the Palestinians, Israel turns around 2 weeks ago and says, we're going to shut off food and water. After killing 100,000 Palestinians, and who knows how many others are under the rubble, They're saying, we don't like the way things go. We're going to cut off your food and water now. We've killed 100,000 of you. We've starved. We've maimed. How many people have lost limbs as a result of the evil Israeli pogrom, pulverization of Gaza? I mean, what do you call it at this point? As a result of that, they're going to punish them more. So Yemen, Ansar Allah, who's in control of most of the country, the West call it the Houthis. It's not what they're called, but the idiotic West, the idiotic Western media, the idiotic Western political class calls it the Houthis because it sounds, I don't know, convenient. That's not what they're called. This is not what they are. Okay, the political movement in control is Ansar Allah. They're based in Sana'a. That's the capital of Yemen. Okay, not the Houthis. But anyway, I'll have to use the term so that people out there can follow the narrative a little bit. They said if Israel doesn't lift this vicious blockade trying to starve the Palestinians, the people in Gaza, starve them out of existence, then they will start attacking Israeli ships, anything heading to Israel, and possibly Israeli targets inside Israel again. Because of that threat, the United States and the UK and Israel, all three countries, launched bombing campaigns this weekend on Yemen. Yemen's one of the poorest countries in the world. Despite being the poorest country in the world, it's the only one who's willing to stand up for the Palestinian cause and to defend people who are getting absolutely slaughtered, massacred by the Israelis with US and German and British weaponry. Okay. So their punishment is so Rubio, the top diplomat in the US, rather than go to the Israelis. Now bear with me. I know this is going to be a stretch, especially in some people's idea of what diplomacy is. But if I was the country's top diplomat, rather than start a new war, which is the thing, Trump, the peace president. Oh, I don't want any wars. I want the killing to stop. How many people did they kill this weekend in Yemen? All poor people under the poverty line. Okay. Rather than start a new war, why don't you send little Marco to Israel or send Steve Witkoff or whoever and say to the bloodthirsty regime, the wanted war criminal, Netanyahu, wanted war criminal. Say to the wanted war criminal, wait a minute, we don't want to go to war with Yemen. Why don't you just let food and water into Gaza? And then we'll avoid an unnecessary additional war. In addition to all the other dozen wars that we're currently fighting, we'd like to do one less war. So just let the food and the water in and the medical supplies. Oh, and by the way, Israel, why don't you stop bombing hospitals? Because they just bombed another hospital this week, the Indonesian hospital. They're targeting doctors, medical workers. The Israeli military is targeting medical workers, aid workers, anybody who dares to help the beleaguered Palestinian people currently under an ongoing genocide by the Israelis, backed by the US. They're targeting medical workers, aid workers, and they're blocking food, water, and medical supplies from coming into Gaza. Okay, let's just avoid all that. Treat the people like they're human beings and avoid an additional war. That's all. Oh, but we can't let the Yemenis be seen to win. Here we go. This is the real problem, isn't it? The Yemenis can't be seen to be on the right side of the issue, to be the moral party, to be the one who are basically providing the moral north, the thing that our moral compass is set to. That's the Yemeni political position. Their demands are stop the genocide, lift the inhumane, illegal, by international law, illegal blockade. Totally in line with international law. So what does the U.S. do? They label them a terrorist group and they bomb them. That's what they've done. So rather than stop treating Palestinians like animals, like as the defense minister of Israel, Yoav Gallant, called them, quote, human animals. Okay, rather than treat them like human beings, they decided it's easier just to go and start a new war with Yemen. Let's bomb them again. Not the first time. Biden did the same thing. And guess where it got him? Nowhere. And guess where this is going to get the Trump administration? Nowhere. Just problems. What they're trying to do, and this is the end game, if you haven't worked this out yet, what they're trying to do is provoke a reaction by Yemen to hit back at U.S. targets or Israeli targets, and then the U.S. and Israel will go to the global media and Europe, and they'll say, Iran has done this. Iran has done this, and we must prepare to strike Iran. They're dangerous. They mean us harm, etc., etc. So they're using Yemen to create the pretext to go after Iran. This is clear. This is what this is. This is all coming from Israel, pure and simple. Did you notice a couple of weeks ago, around February 12th, 13th, the U.S. released a quote story about a quote leak, an intelligence leak, that Israel's planning to strike Iranian nuclear facilities, and that they're asking the U.S. to help them carry out this operation. Okay, that was coming just as Tulsi Gabbard is sworn in as Director of National Intelligence. Coincidence? No, it's not a coincidence. The selection of Tulsi Gabbard, coincidence? No, it's not a coincidence. There's something afoot. There's something going on in full daylight here, okay? That leak is coming from Israel. It's to prepare the American public and Washington for what Israel wants, which is a joint operation with the U.S. and Israel attacking Iran, or at least hold that threat over the region, over Iran and the world for now. Okay, that's what this is, and this is what the Yemen situation is. Not only that, it's just there to buttress Israel's absolute corruption and moral degradation. That's all it is, and to deflect, and to create a new enemy in the region. We've seen all this before. This is old hat. This is absolutely old hat. So let's just do a quick appraisal here. Let's just look at what some of the reactions are from some of the other countries. Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister here. We'll take a look at what Lavrov is saying. Bring that up on screen. Yes, he's saying to Marco Rubio, this is what the Russian foreign minister is saying, stop bombing Yemen. Okay, in response to the reasoning presented by the American side, Sergei Lavrov emphasized the need for an immediate cessation of the use of force and the importance of all parties engaging in diplomatic dialogue, political dialogue, to find a solution that prevents further bloodshed. That makes sense, doesn't it? No, that doesn't make sense in Washington, though. They have other ideas. Washington has other ideas. There's Sergei Lavrov clearly making a plea to please don't start another war to the United States. And I can't even begin to describe some of the communiques released. Look at some of the images coming out here from Yemen. There's a comment from Dan Cohen there, who's has also been on our program before. Great journalist. We'll try to get him back on again. But Dan saying, there is no U.S. national security justification for bombing Yemen. This is purely about punishing the resistance to the Zionist genocide in Gaza. Donald Trump betrays the Constitution, which he has sworn to uphold. He demonstrates loyalty to international Zionism, not the American people. And there we go. More dead civilians in Yemen. That's what's happening, ladies and gentlemen. That's all it is. And there's some other good posts, obviously some great coverage from some other journalism professionals on this issue here. But let's bring up, if we can, the tweet by Marco Rubio. We'll try to bring this up on screen if we can. But this is just completely ridiculous. He's reposting Trump's flippant tweets here, and this is what Rubio is basically saying on this. It's pretty incredible. Today, the President of the United States sent a powerful and clear message to the, quote, Iranian-backed Houthi terrorists in Yemen. So it has to be Iranian-backed Houthi terrorist. So three pejoratives strung together that basically gives the impression to America, who's none the wiser, that the, quote, Houthis, it's not their real name, are terrorists. Where have the Houthis carried out terrorist attacks anywhere? In Europe, in the United States, in the Middle East? No, they're not a, how do they fit into the definition of a, quote, terrorist? They're enforcing a naval blockade in accordance to the international courts of justice and the International Criminal Court and UN General Assembly resolutions condemning Israel. They're the only ones doing it. The poorest, imagine this, the poorest country in the world is the only one enforcing international law. They're sanctioning Israel. Yemen is sanctioning Israel exactly the way the United States and Britain and everybody else sanctions the Iranians, sanctions Syria, sanctions Cuba, sanctions North Korea. In the case of Syria, Iran, and these other countries, especially Syria and Russia, that includes militarily attacking them. That's part of their sanctions. Even blowing up pipelines in Europe. The U.S. reserves the right to blow up people's pipelines as an extension of their sanctions. This is a precedent, folks. So totally lawless. Yemen's not doing that. They've been very specific. Stop killing Palestinians who are under illegal occupation via international law. So this is what Rubio's saying here. So Rubio said, let's look at what what Trump is saying. Donald Trump, I have to read this because today I've ordered the United States military to launch decisive and powerful military action against Houthi terrorists in Yemen. There we go, Houthi terrorists. They have waged an unrelenting campaign of piracy, and that's not true. Yemen has not done any piracy, violence, and terrorism against American and other ships, aircraft, and drones. If the U.S. military are loitering off of Yemen territorial waters after having launched airstrikes against them, after Donald Trump, after 9 years of blitzkrieg bombing of Yemen with U.S. jets, weapons, U.S. assistance of Saudi Arabia and the UAE pummeling that country, plus enforcing an illegal blockade on Yemen, starving hundreds of thousands of people. That's the context. But Donald Trump can't seem to put that context in his, quote, truth or tweet because he doesn't care about the context. Marco Rubio doesn't care about the context. They just want to rewrite history starting last week. Okay? It's exactly what these people do. This is what Biden did with Ukraine and Russia. It's what Israel and the U.S. did with October 7th. Ignore everything that happened right up to this point, and let's just scream and shriek with righteous indignation about these, quote, terrorist attacks. Stripping all the context out of it makes people none the wiser. And then the old chestnut here, Joe Biden's response was pathetically weak. Biden is weak. This would have never happened if I was president. Same tropes. So the unrestrained Houthis just kept going. No, the one who's unrestrained is Israel. That's the source of this problem. And you have people in Washington, when I say genocide on social media, all of the people freak out. MAGA supporters, Zionist shills. Patrick, you're losing credibility by using that term genocide. No, I'm gaining credibility because that's what it is. If you're denying that, you're losing credibility. Sorry. So anyway, he goes on. I mean, I don't know what to say about this. It's just ridiculous. But the other one is just on a level of patheticness that is just unmatched. Okay, let's take a look at this one. I'll go to the good point. To all Houthi terrorists, says Donald Trump, your time is up and your attacks must stop, in all caps, starting today. If they don't, hell will rain down upon you like nothing you've ever seen before. Okay? Really? So, Donald Trump, you said to Hamas, if all the hostages aren't released, hell is going to rain down on Gaza. Did hell rain down on Gaza? No. Israel had already rained hell on Gaza for a year and a half. But the U.S., Trump didn't rain hell on Gaza. All the Israeli hostages weren't released. Of course, Donald Trump didn't mention the Palestinian hostages. And here it is again, giving this ultimatum, this blustering, fire-breathing ultimatum. Hell's going to rain down like nothing you've ever seen before. If it's anything like the last threat of hell raining down, I wouldn't be too worried about it if I was Yemen. Just saying. Because they've been under your hell raining down on them for over a decade of the United States and its allies. Okay, over a decade. Started by Obama, and now you are continuing Obama's failed policies. So again, I don't see any material difference here between Donald Trump and Barack Obama. Continuation of the war in Yemen, same as Obama. Weapons to Ukraine, same as Biden. Cash to Zelensky, same as Biden. Intelligence sharing for Zelensky, same as Biden. Weapons to Israel, carry on the genocide, same as Biden. New boss, same as the old boss. There's no material difference. There's only a difference in rhetoric. And again, I just have to remind people that's the poorest country in the world, that the United States is playing tough and flexing like they're doing something. Okay? And this poorest country of the world are standing up for the poorest people in the world in Gaza who are getting genocided. And Donald Trump and Marco Rubio and all the blowhards in Washington, their response to that is to bomb them and threaten them that if they don't stop doing something they're not doing, that they're going to pulverize them and, quote, hell's going to rain down on them. I mean, this is just getting like, this is like Comic-Con at this point. This whole scene is a meme, basically. We have the Secretary of State tweeting out like a teenager, calling U.S. students on campuses staging terrorist riots. That's the terrorist riots. That's the term Marco Rubio used. Terrorist riots. They want to deport and lock up this leader of the student protest, Mahmoud Khalil, who dared to lead human rights protests at Columbia, and they're falsely labeling him as Hamas, which is retarded. Just full retard. For the record, it's full retard. Never, as Simple Jack said in Tropic Thunder, guys, go see that film. It's just ridiculous at this point. And we have our Secretary of State tweeting like a teenager on social media, saying stupid things, threatening people, threatening countries. Marco Rubio, just resign. Just quit at this point. You're going to end up quitting anyway, because you're going to create so many problems for the country, and you're going to be the scapegoat. Okay, that's what's going to happen. You're not going to, at this rate, you will not last through this term. There's no way. I predict you are digging yourself into such a hole. And Donald Trump is the president. I know we're used to it. I don't mind, flippant adolescent tweets to a domestic audience. We're used to that. But don't go around threatening other countries and then putting lies in your communications, provable lies, threatening and bombing other countries at the same time, and then having the temerity to brand yourself as a president of peace. Okay? Israel is the problem. Israel is vetoing cabinet picks for the intelligence agencies, which they did this past week. Israel vetoed a cabinet pick for Tulsi Gabbard's deputy DNI. Okay, the Israeli lobby brigaded and canceled a pick because this person wasn't hawkish enough against Iran and wasn't showing enough loyalty to Israel, apparently, as we're told. And it's the same with the National Security Advisor. His confirmation's being held up for the same reason. So Israel's vetoing our cabinet, our intelligence picks. They're dictating our foreign policy, and they're pushing us to bomb other countries and start World War III with Iran. Israel's doing that. So who's in charge? Is it Donald Trump? Are you in charge? Is Donald Trump president? I love to put this poll on. Gerald Celente had a brilliant poll which he put up on his social media. We'll try to find that in a moment. But Gerald Celente put this poll up. We'll try to bring it up on screen. He said, "Who is the most powerful person in the United States?" And we'll try to bring that. See if we can find that poll that Celente did. Put it up on X here. Let's see if we can bring that up. There it is. The most powerful person in the U.S., says Celente. There he is. There's his poll on X. The most powerful person in the U.S., A, Elon Musk, B, Donald Trump, C, Netanyahu, and D, C, answers. And guess who got the most votes? Overwhelming. It's a blowout. Benjamin Netanyahu is the most powerful person, according to this poll by Gerald Celente. That's what a lot of people believe. Nice sample size, about 7,000 votes. Not bad. So Netanyahu is the most powerful guy in America, folks. So just let that one sink in for a moment. So that's kind of where we're at with this. It's ridiculous. There's another thing that they're doing. Also, I might add that you'll see the language is changing now. They're justifying hitting civilians in Yemen, saying that they're Houthi-controlled buildings, Houthi-controlled hospitals. This is exactly what Israelis did in Gaza, that they said everything was Hamas-controlled. This is a Hamas-controlled building. Hamas is hiding there. There's tunnels under there. That hospital is Hamas-controlled, must bomb it and kill everybody inside. So this is a cheap way of getting away with mass murder. Okay, the Israelis did the same thing in South Lebanon. Oh, that's a Hezbollah house. Oh, there's missiles in the garage. Oh, the village has Hezbollah's hiding in there. We'll have to level the whole village. So this is the same old trick. Okay, this war on terror BS is getting out of control. That governments like Israel and the U.S. are now using it to get away with mass murder and to be totally unaccountable to any kind of law or international norms, just by slapping the so-called, the Houthi label, the Hezbollah label, or the Hamas label on anything they want to pulverize. It is so shallow, so cheap, and so corrupt. Okay, and don't think that the U.S. and Israel are going to get away with this. Okay, they might get away with it in the short term, but they are passing on strife and conflict and misfortune and suffering to our children and their children's children. Okay, because that price is going to get paid eventually. Might not be paid today, this week, or next week, but somebody's going to pay for that. And it's probably not going to be the old men who are doing it today. Okay, they're passing on that debt to the future. This is why we're in the situation we're in now. This is why the Middle East is a completely dysfunctional hellhole. It's because of all these, we are paying today the debts, the Palestinians are paying the debts of the previous old men oligarchs that screwed the region up before. Pure and simple, folks. Pure and simple. So instead of breaking the cycle, we're just initiating new cycles of violence now and not dealing with the core of the problem. And the core of the problem is what Israel's doing to the native Palestinian population. Pure and simple. And until that's addressed, until Israel's restrained, we're going to get more war, more violence, more suffering, and everything else. Okay? Very simple. So this administration, like the last, thinks, oh, we're going to get away with it because we're the most powerful hegemon and nobody can do anything to stop us. And Israel's thinking we have the U.S. behind us. Washington has our back, so we can get away. We can kill as many as we want. In fact, let's occupy a large chunk of Syria now, and let's steal some more territory from Lebanon. And while we're at it, why don't we take? Let's prepare to take some more of Egypt, for instance, or Jordan, or whatever's next. Let's take the West Bank. That's next on Israel's greater Israel shopping list. Okay. And they think they're going to get away with it, and they may do in the short term. But this will come back. The blowback, whether it's in this generation or the next, will just continue, and it will be immense. It'll probably be a lot more severe than it would be if they had come to some mutual, reasonable solution, which could have happened 30 or 40 years ago, 50 years ago, or in 1948 for that matter, but it didn't, because people were greedy. People were cruel, greedy, and money was driving everything. Money and power. And the suffering of the people who live in the region, it's an afterthought for Western powers. It's literally an afterthought. They literally don't care. So anyway, that's where we're at with Yemen, and we'll try to continue some of this conversation after the break. I'm Patrick Henningsen, your host. This is the Sunday Wire. We will see you in just a few minutes. In the meantime, enjoy the music of Red Rumble.
For in the final analysis, we all inhabit this small planet, and we are all mortal.
Lately I've been watching the world gone mad. Brothers and sisters full to take a stand, to hate their fellow man, another man. Divide and conquer is the acronym plan. Distract the people, control the story. Don't believe your lying eyes, you know me. Stay in power no matter what. Playing with the doomsday clock. Turn a blind eye and gather your trust. Pushing us to turn to good. Corruption and lies.
welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Sunday Wire. I'm your host, Patrick Henningsen. We're streaming out live on X, also YouTube, Rumble, and our other live streams on BitChute, as well as Facebook Live. And yeah, got some teething problems with some of the streams, but we're working on it. So slowly but surely, developing our live stream portfolio there. Great to have you back with us. And as we mentioned, theme of today's show is Trump and Israel's war on Yemen. So there it is. Donald's cracked his first champagne bottle over the bow of the poorest country in the world, which is Yemen. So congratulations. A great achievement militarily, of course, and really sticking it to those Yemenis. Because after all, they're just nothing but terrorists, or at least that's what they're telling us. So kind of disturbing in the sense that we know where this is headed, ladies and gentlemen, know exactly where this is all headed, and this is headed to Tehran. They're prepping for the war that certainly Israel is demanding, the one that will save Netanyahu, apparently. It'll save his career, save his legacy, somehow vindicate him from the jaws of just complete depravity where he's found himself after what he's done in Gaza. Wanted by the International Criminal Court currently, and Israel is also in the dock at the World Courts of Justice for genocide against the Palestinians. But that none of that matters in Washington, certainly not in Israel. None of that matters, and they're just going to kind of carry on with how things are going. Bring some of our team up onto stage here. We've got Adam Clark, aka Ruckus. Ruckus, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Patrick?
I'm good. How's the Ruckus vision going this week?
It's been a challenge. I'm not going to lie, but I'm working on it. I'm working on a huge 3-parter as we speak. So I'm anticipating it'll be out sooner than later. And boy, howdy, I can't wait because I need to switch my computers. My old computer keeps crashing on me every time I do something. It's crazy.
And just for our viewers, our readers, and listeners at 21stcenturywire.com, there's a great Sunday screening up. It's called The Real Impact of the Silk Road. It's 2.5 hours. It's actually a very interesting documentary looking at the history of the Silk Road and where it's at now with the Belt and Road and how the Silk Road will be extended into outer space. This is very fascinating. So I encourage people go. That's our Sunday screening. We do that most every week. We'll have a curated documentary film, which our team curates and posts each week at the Sunday screening. So the real impact of the Silk Road, 2.5 hours long. So if you have some time to watch this, it is absolutely fascinating. Highly recommend it. As is the rest of our archive of documentary films at the Sunday screen. You can check that out. There's a link at the bottom of each of these films. It'll take you to the archive so you can watch some of the other documentaries. We also have a 24/7 documentary stream at 21wire.tv for our members and subscribers. We'll be upgrading that too. We're in the process of working on all those things, in addition to launching new programs like the Midweek Wire, which just came online in, I believe, the end of January, and we're already approaching our 10th episode for that. We'll be at number 10 pretty soon, so we're very excited about that. Had a great discussion with Freddie Ponton on the stream. We went live on Wednesday with that. Let me bring Bryan McClain also up onto the stage. Bryan McClain, also known as Hesher, welcome to the program, sir.
Hello, good to see you guys. Happy Sunday. How's it going?
Pretty well. We were just talking to Ruckus about the technical teething issues of Ruckus Vision, having to work with old analog equipment like in the background there and somehow make it look cutting edge. This is an absolute, I don't know, you have to be somewhat of an alchemist, I think, or a technological alchemist to make all this work. But a lot of it's just an illusion, but we won't talk about that. But we are in the Maya and the illusions of, there we go.
Behind the scenes, it's much more chaos, like this kind of thing going on. You know,
that reminds me, that's like the Nebuchadnezzar in the Matrix. Looks like the sort of the bridge of the EMP machines in the Matrix. Guys, I don't know about you, but I wasn't too happy to wake up to the news on Saturday, or to see the news in the evening that the U.S. had just started a new war in Yemen. So under the Trump administration, I mean, I can't see where this is going to be heading anywhere positive. I don't know about you guys, but to me, what was equally as disturbing as watching Yemenis getting killed on social media was watching MAGA doing victory laps. Like this is some major accomplishment somehow. And it just brings me back to like, did the neocons ever die, or did they just pass their genes on to this latest gaggle of America firsters and podcasters? I can't work it out. Help me, guys. Help me.
Seems to be the latter. Seems the genetic DNA, media DNA, geopolitical DNA, racism against Muslim DNA. Yeah, that seems to have spread in an odd and sort of slow way to this younger MAGA crowd. I mean, it's pretty creepy. It's pretty creepy. Like
we're teaching them a lesson.
Yeah.
Don't F with USA, man.
Right.
It's the poorest country in the world. They're trying to stop the Israeli are blockading Gaza now after genociding him. They're cutting off food and water. And Yemeni said, "Don't do it, or we're going to attack Israeli targets until you stop." And the U.S. did a preemptive strike along with the UK and Israel. 3 countries hit Yemen this weekend as a preemptive strike. So rather than just allow water and food into Gaza and just everything's cool at that point, no, we have to start another war.
Preempting what? May I ask? Preempting what exactly?
Inconvenience of Israel and of shipping, so to speak.
I will happily admit that in 13, 14, probably 2012, 2013, I can't remember. I didn't really know Yemen. I didn't really know where Yemen was or anything like that. And I learned about it watching Sunday Wire, listening to Sunday Wire at that time. And also from a number of different media sources. RT did some good coverage on it. A bunch of independent people did some good coverage on it. And what I learned after I learned where it was on the map and kind of who lived there and a little bit about it, and that it was in Call of Duty as a war zone in Black Ops, I learned that there were millions of people there who had been starved to death because of the sanctions that you mentioned earlier, the Obama era sanctions on that location. And it was much harder to get video of these sort of things back then, but I did come across it. And what I discovered was that the people in Yemen were being starved out, straight up, just being starved by the millions of children. And this is what, 9-10 years ago? So, I get it if you're one of those people that didn't know where it was on the map. I've been there myself, but after, I found out, that was one of the things that got me, very interested in geopolitics in the Middle East, was knowing that, oh my gosh, here it is. We're in the 21st century and our country is behind starving one of the poorest nations on the planet. What's up with that, guys? I mean, it's so when I saw that this popped off the other morning, it was just, like when October 7 happened and everything in the aftermath, I spent months watching everything I could on it. This time, I mean, aside from what I've seen on your and a few other people's X accounts, I'm not digging in to look at the horror of this because I've already seen it before. It's disgusting. We just went through more of it than I could handle with Gaza. And we're just going to graft this on to Yemen with the 3 pejoratives that you described earlier, right? Iranian-backed Houthi terrorism, quote unquote, quote unquote, quote unquote. And that's all it's going to take for the modern hardcore MAGA influencers to get behind genocide. Another genocide. This one, some people may not know this, but this has been an ongoing genocide that our tax dollars have been helping for.
Yeah. I mean, we'll bring some video. Bring some video up on there so people can see. But this scene from Sana'a. This is kind of like.
Lost you there, man.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, guys. We had a little.
There we go.
Technical hitch there with the share screen feature. Sorry about that.
It was probably Iran, some Iran-backed rebel group somewhere in the Middle East, Patrick.
Yeah. So yeah, point taken, Hesher. As Hesher was saying before the before we glitched out there for a moment. Yeah, it is quite an extraordinary story. I mean, I could bring a map up on screen, but without doing that, just to understand the strategic importance of Yemen right there with the Gulf of Aden, the Horn of Africa, the Bab el-Mandeb Straits, the Red Sea, the Suez Canal, etc. All of these things are key strategic junctures for global trade and maritime trade. And they're just beside themselves that this country that they thought that they had done, they probably thought they were going to do them in by 2016. When Obama launched the war in Yemen, it was March 2015, right on the back of Charlie Hebdo. And they launched this war in Yemen. They probably thought we are going to finish these guys off within 12 months. 10 years later, they're just on the cusp of getting hypersonic missiles. And they're hitting targets in Israel. They've shut down the port of Eilat. So it becomes such a thorn in the side of Israel in a way that no other Arab country could manage. They're the only Arab country. Iran's not an Arab country, so Iran fired missiles to try to restrain Israel. Yemen has actually been dogged in their sort of dedication to the Palestinian cause, ending suffering. It's a religious national mission for them. Okay, it's nothing to do with Iran. Nothing. Iran supports Yemen, of course, gives them technology, but the Yemenis are building their own rockets. They're building their own anti-aircraft facilities. They're building their own surface-to-ship missiles. Okay, so I mean, so you can't blame the Iranians that other people in the region are pissed off at what Israel's doing, and they're willing to fight and do something about it. That's not Iran's fault. But how this is being framed by the U.S. is they're trying to funnel this into an outcome. And then if Yemen retaliates against these U.S. and Israeli strikes, then they're going to blame Iran, and then they're going to use that as a pretext to hit Iran. This is kind of like where it's going. It's kind of obvious at this point. So I don't know if you guys have any other.
It's a rehashed playbook. When I saw the numbers come in from this strike, Hesher, you mentioned it's the 21st century, right, or whatever. Where did all the money go for all those smart weapons and all the bombs and stuff that we drop? How come we have to they said in the news that they were striking military sites, yet the results are 24 to 31 civilians killed. How many militants were killed? Wait a minute, hold on. Like I saw some reports said that a total of 31 people were killed. 24 of them are civilians, at least. So that means they got 7 of the bad guys. Way to go. Where have we seen this type of strategy before? Maybe the other side is using the same strategy as the other one. Maybe they're just using humans as shields. I don't know. It's ridiculous to me. So there's no precision here, no forethought. All they're doing is just collateral damage, which is going to radicalize more problems in the future. We understand how this works. And I think this is just a giant setup to put the narrative in people's minds. We'll probably see a couple false flag things happen, maybe even right here on the home soil. They'll say, look who did it. And it'll start with the letter H. I don't know which one yet. I think the Houthis is probably a better sell for people than Hamas, because come on, what the heck does Hamas care about America? Seriously.
So it's like anybody that stands in the way of Israel or that attacks ISIS is labeled a terrorist, basically. That's the rule. I can't think of a better objective definition for terrorism, because it's like each country is going to come up with their own political reason to designate somebody a terrorist. Okay. Now it's the British designated the IRA as a terrorist organization, while rich Irish people in the US were funneling money and weapons to them, okay, and totally supported the IRA. US political senators, congressmen, even presidents supported Irish independence, okay? So, and they're no longer a terrorist organization. Nelson Mandela and the ANC were on the terrorist list. The US regarded them as a terrorist. And then all of a sudden, he is the mascot for freedom and anti-apartheid and human rights, just like that. It's a political designation. It is a designation of convenience. I'll put a comment here on the bottom. Joseph F. USA. These MAGA influencers were criticizing Biden for the same thing. He's talking about hitting Yemen. Do you see all this? The MAGA anti-war thing. You can see how shallow and thin it is. When it comes to the crunch, they will back the war. And this is like, it sounds good during the campaign for these people, but they are really not committed to any of these principles here. If I find any more intelligent comments from our listenership.
And I'll add real quick that
Go ahead, Ruckus.
a lot of the MAGA crowd actually were victims of being labeled as domestic terrorists for their political beliefs not that long ago. It's like short memory span, I guess. They turned into goldfishes overnight or something.
And they still are. Let's face it. Until the three-letter agencies are completely reined in, the deep state is reined in, the political Zionism is reined in, all these things that probably are very difficult to rein in, some would argue will never be reined in. Until all that were to happen, I'm sorry, you're still on those lists. There are still pieces of those machineries that call all of us anti-war people and people that aren't just complete partisans to one side or the other, and you complete partisans on the MAGA side, terrorists. They have you on lists. They have us on lists, okay? These lists have been around for years. They haven't gone away. Yes, there are some political, very public political strides being made right now to ramp down weaponization, quote unquote, if you will. But don't kid yourselves. I mean, look at what just happened here with the student, the anti-war protesting student. This is, it's just crazy that, it's old, like post 9/11 mindset to just allow a government to label someone the T word and then say, cool, go for it. Get them. I mean, who have they gotten? Tell me, name one group that they've labeled a terrorist and then gone out and made disappear. Are any of them gone? Is a single one gone? I mean, a lot of countries are gone. A lot of civilians are gone. A lot of money is gone. A lot of bombs have gone out the door of our country and been dropped in other countries that do absolutely nothing for us except put us in a worse geopolitical position. I mean, what you're going to wipe out who? Name, I've seen them wipe out the Palestinians, and I fear what this is about, quite frankly, is enabling another one of these. This was basically October 7 without an October 7. This is like riding on the gas of October 7, riding on the grift, the gaslight, and the bigoted nature of the response to October 7. Never mind the source of it, the funding of it, and all that.
So here's a comment on the bottom from Putin's shirt. That definitely wins the award for best PFP today. Of course, they are controlled by Ansar Allah. He's talking about Yemen. Ansar Allah is a political party running the country, just like Hamas is the political party running Gaza, just like Hezbollah is the most dominant political party in Lebanon. So by labeling political parties and movements that are actually governing as terrorist organizations, you then give yourself the right to bomb them, to attack them, and to kill anybody that gets in your way, including women and children. This is just getting out of control. And now they're doing it with the so-called, they're calling it the Houthis, okay? And so this is a game that is getting out of control. And we'll go some other heady comments here. Thank you for that, Putin's shirt. And here we go. I like this. Presumably, this is supposedly to be a distraction from the lost war against the Russians. Not bad. Not a bad comment. Agree or disagree, Ruckus?
I don't know about that one. I have to think about that for a minute. I think I disagree. I think this is perpetuating the forever war because, I was like, when Trump came in and said, oh, he's going to end wars, I'm like, well, I can think of a big group of people who aren't going to let that happen, the military industrial complex and all that. So, here we are.
Hesher, what do you think? Distraction.
Presumably, for many people, I would say that is how it's going to graft onto their worldview. But we don't really know what's going to happen with Russia at this point either. I mean, that could still go sideways, wrong, and always, 12 ways from Sunday wire. There's so many opportunities for that situation to escalate and get a lot worse. There's opportunities, of course, for Taiwan to turn into something worse. Don't kid ourselves and think that this ceasefire in Gaza is something that still can't turn around and get worse. It's just like, it's a good distraction maybe for the sort of dense crowd, people that aren't, people that are geopolitically illiterate, maybe, perhaps. And I guess that's a pretty high population since people's attention spans are like 30 seconds now. But, we'll just have to wait and see.
Working theory, Hesher, on that. Here's my working theory. During the campaign, the party that's in opposition develops a higher IQ during that phase. They develop a higher IQ. They exhibit better language and better thought processes. But if that opposition party gets into power, their IQ plummets very, very quickly. And really, it's a race to the bottom at that point because it's all about groupthink and protecting the leader, basically. Because we're in power, now we have to protect the leader. The leader in this case is Donald Trump. The Democrats did the same with Joe Biden. You saw that ring of steel they put around Biden, that impenetrable ring of steel of criticism. You couldn't even criticize him if he was like falling over, drooling out of the side of his mouth, slurring his speech, or falling asleep at world meetings. You weren't allowed to. If you criticize that, you're ageist. Oh, you're making fun of him because he's old, he's falling asleep, and he's senile. How dare you? How dare you make fun of John Fetterman, who's like literally mentally disabled because he had a stroke, okay? Is that the guy you want in as senator running the country? No, most people would say no, but no, they protected the leader, and then it gets dumber as they get into power. So that's my working theory on this. This one, you guys, though, I want to get your opinion on this. This is from Ghost Machine. It's one of our best commenters, actually. They're trying to speed run to Christ's return. Bayfo. Ruckus, what do you think?
It's not going to work because, Christian Zionism is a completely made up thing. There's a lot of research to suggest that. I've been doing a lot of looking into this. So I don't know if you think about it, what it means fundamentally as a Christian, and then you look at what it means fundamentally with other religions, and you're like, how do any of these pieces interconnect with each other? They don't. But yeah, this whole concept of the Christian Zionism thing is it's based off of Scofield. The Scofield Bible is probably the biggest perpetrator of this, and it's been picked up and progressing along the past few decades or longer now for a while. It's led to this problem ever since the creation of the State of Israel. So obviously, this idea that they think that a false prophecy that may, in my opinion, has already been fulfilled. A lot of these things that they say are going to happen in the future were actually things that already happened a long time ago in the past, if you can believe that or not. So I don't think that their plan is going to work. So the Christians are probably going to be severely disappointed if they honestly think that by assisting this genocide, by doing all these things, that they're going to usher in the Antichrist. So they're not just trying to usher in Christ's return. In order for that to happen, what they're trying to do is get the temple rebuilt, have the Antichrist do some symbolic gesture or something, and so everyone, aha, he's the Antichrist, and now that means hallelujah, we're going to get raptured. The world is about to F around and find out, and they're going to be screwed. But that's okay, because we're up in the sky with Christ. I got some bad news for you people. What's going to happen when that doesn't happen? What are you going to do then? Uh-oh. Well, by then it's too late. Now we're in a full-on technocracy that nobody ever wants, least of all me.
And don't mention the fact that the Christian Zionists have got this secret pact in their back pocket that to really fulfill the end times prophecy, all the Jews have to convert to Christianity. Good luck with that,
Good
guys.
luck.
Good luck with that one. Hesher, go ahead. What do you think? Speed run, Christ's return, FAFO. What do you think?
It is one of the cringiest worldviews I could possibly imagine. It is one. It is there is. I cannot fathom the amount of hubris one must have to believe that. You know, to try to force theological events into your time frame, especially ones that include antichrists and apocalypse and all this kind of stuff. Like, who wants this? Honestly, who wants this? And who thinks that even if it was possible, and again, the hubris, can you imagine this? But even if you think it was possible as a man or a group of men and women, whatever, in any time in history that you could affect and bring about and create biblical events. I mean, just on the face of it, you know, that to me sounds very spitting in the face of God. Like, if that's the way it's going to be, that's the way it's going to be. But I certainly do not trust the likes of Netanyahu, Ben-Gvir, all these people, you know, all our presidents since the 40s. I do not trust these people to bring about biblical events, nor do I trust their technocrat friends, nor do I trust their militaries and their military industrial contractors, especially when they're making ass loads of money doing it, stealing ass loads of money and committing genocide, ethnic cleansing, atrocity, psychological operations, theft, horror. You know what I mean? Like, you part of this machine that does this to humanity for their own good so that we can bring the Antichrist, kill some cows on something. You're crazy. You're absolutely crazy. Who wants this?
Well, all I'm going to say about that, Hesher, is good luck ever getting elected to Congress or Senate in Louisiana, most of Texas, as well as Mississippi, Alabama, Oklahoma, and the rest of the Bible Belt. You've just disqualified yourself from being the future Speaker of the House. So that's it. Yeah, you'll never replace Mike Johnson with that sort of belief structure. And here we go. This is a good, fair question here. This is from People Unite. Comment at the bottom. Wonder where the Houthi name came from. It's actually the term they use is Houthi. Okay. Piers Morgan says the Houthi, but no, not like Hootie and the Blowfish, but the Houthi. No, where does the name come from? Fair question, because a lot of people don't know. So we're going to educate you. We're going to teach you. Here we go. That's where the name comes from. This is the background and origins of Ansar Allah. The Houthi movement calls itself Ansar Allah, Defenders of God. Okay. The more popular term Houthi refers to its founding figure, a politician and a Zaidi activist, Hussein Badr al-Din al-Houthi. Okay. There he is. And this guy is a hardcore, just tough and incredible scholar and politician. This is why they named the movement after him, because he was that much of a revered figure. And you look at this picture, there he is there. That looks like a serious guy. Okay. That looks like a guy that's going to dig in, and he's not going to entertain fools gladly. And this is exactly what the Yemenis are like. The Yemenis are constantly being underestimated by the U.S., by Israel, by pretty much everybody. The Saudi Arabians thought they could make short work of them, and they ran away after 9 years with their tail between their legs, with a full U.S. complement of Air Force, satellite support, bombs, everything. And Saudi got their butts kicked, pure and simple. So yeah, that's where they come from. So that's where the term Houthi comes from. But again, that's not really an accurate term because they don't even themselves call their government that or anything like that. So, I mean, we can get into the geopolitics of Yemen later, perhaps. I mean, I don't know. We can do a teach-in on it. If this thing gets really bad, we'll have to bring the maps out, show the historical timelines, look at the British colonial legacy. That's the source of a lot of problems. There we go again. It's the way that the Europeans drew the maps after World War I in this region have sowed the seeds for just total and nonstop conflict here. Let me see if there's any other interesting comments from our readership, our viewers here. Let me see. What have we got? Yeah. Anyway, I'll see if I find anything interesting there. But yeah, some good comments here by our people. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for that. But so that's where we're at, folks. Once again, the U.S. has declared war on Yemen, and this was just over the weekend, or not really declared war. It's kind of an undeclared war. They sort of declare war. This is weird, guys. Help me work out what's going on here. They declare war on Truth Social and on X, but they don't issue an actual declaration of war. Definitely not done through Congress. Not even a letter from the president. Do you remember in the old days when the president used to go in front of the country, sort of like this, and say, "My fellow Americans, last night we launched an airstrike on a threat to U.S. interests." George Bush, whatever, whoever did it, like, do you remember? And they used to just at least tell us we're gonna bomb this country, legal or not. This is what the government's doing. Now they just sneak behind and throw tweets out and like truths up on Truth Social, and then all the influencers amplify it, and that's like governing now in 2025. Is it just me, or do you find that highly strange and a little bit disturbing on a certain level?
Very
Guys,
strange. I was in high school when Desert Storm kicked off, and I remember that moment when the president came on, cable television and all the, rabbit ear televisions, and gave a speech about it, said what we were doing and why. I mean, in hindsight, knowing what I know now, I would have scoffed and kicked and screamed a bit. But, I was a youngster. I was a young Hesher, and, brought up on military movies, war movies, Old West movies, that kind of stuff. And to me, it was like, oh my gosh, we're having a war. We're having a war in the 90s. Wow, we're declaring a war, and then you see the insane footage that came out of it, all the Apache footage and everything. That big highway of death and destruction and all that. And it's like, wow, don't F with America. That was kind of like the long and the short, well, just the short and the shorter of like how that whole thing hit my brain, and it wasn't until years later, because I was almost old enough to join the military at that point. And it wasn't until years later that, I started knowing people coming back from that and meeting people coming back from that, or that were in that, and then you start to kind of grow your perception and your understanding of it. You have more context. But yeah, everything since then, I can't think of much. Of course, there's the 9/11 stuff in Afghanistan, but even those were sort of softer launches, it feels like, than even Operation Desert Storm. And now you're right. They throw a social media post out and just let the attack dogs in the MAGA influence sphere be the news for it. And then they let the brigades of, their viewers and subscribers come through and be the power, be the the wave, the wave that it all rides until it crashes down. It's pretty amazing to see technocracy grow into, you know what I mean? Like our little technocracy's growing up here, guys. Our little technocracy's getting so big and so advanced. It can declare a war and use your own citizens to create the wave of support. You no longer need these JOs up there in DC to tell you that we're going to go to war. It's like, no, we truthed it out, we tweeted it out, and the influencers have poured the cement on it, and the influenced by the influencers come and provide the, the optics of a massive wave of support.
Yeah. The media, right? The media.
Yeah.
Yeah. The new media. You are the
There
media.
they are. All two of them.
Yeah. All the,
You already said this during your program about the meet the new boss, same as the old boss. We've been discussing that on various programs. I mean, episodes of the Sunday Wire here, where like we believe that the social media, the X, the new media, really is the new media, and it's acting and doing all the same things that the old media did, except right there, as you see, technocracy. So no longer do we have to do these news reports like Hesher and I were used to seeing, like during high school and college age, right, where it's like these big news presentations, and then you have to wait a while and gauge readers' opinions based on maybe they wrote some letters to their editors, to their local papers. Now it's all happening in real time, like based on algorithms. So they can gauge the public's perception about these military movements as they're happening, and they can scale it back as needed or ramp it up as needed. And usually they are concerned about the public's perception about war only for their political party's sake in the next election. And we do have a president right now on his second term who will not be running again unless, he gets his way, because he's mentioned that quite a few times now. He says, "Oh, I'm going to run 3 terms." That's not going to happen. But he doesn't care what people think about him. By the time he leaves this office, he doesn't care. He's going to do all of the things. He's going to do whatever he wants. So I'm just pointing that out.
Yeah. Well, there's a story here. I mean, this is just, I'll play this because I did a special edit of this on X, and I don't know, you guys know who Daniel Davis is, right? Deep Dive podcast.
Yeah.
On YouTube. He's a pretty good guy. I've been on the show a few times. He's incredibly good as an analyst, and I like him just because he has a heart, and he still has a lot of, he hasn't lost his humanity by being in the Beltway. So he's been on the right side of all these issues, and he was basically tapped for an intelligence position, deputy DNI by Tulsi Gabbard. And my understanding was he got the position, and then it was vetoed, and there was a brigade campaign that was launched against him. Now, I did a very brief report on this at the UK column. I think it's worth playing, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. I also want to show this to our audience. We did this on Friday on the UK column news. I was with Mike Robinson in studio there, and so let's look at this report, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on this, because I find this to be highly worrying, very, very concerning on a deep level. But let's go ahead and watch this. Hold on, let's see if we can bring this up. This is an incredible story. We're bringing this up on screen. So Tulsi Gabbard had already selected a deputy for the Director of National Intelligence, DNI, and his name is Daniel Davis. A lot of people might know him as Colonel Daniel Davis. He has a very successful podcast, which is on YouTube. He's also a senior fellow at Defense Priorities. This is a think tank in Washington, generally known in that kind of Douglas McGregor vein of a pretty good, straight-talking, common-sense guy. A decorated combat veteran, which is rare in Washington to find such people in politics, very experienced, and has kind of been on the right side of most issues over the years. And something happened, Mike. He was basically appointed, and all of a sudden the appointment was scuttled a couple of days later. And it turns out it was because he wasn't hawkish enough, we're told, on the issue of, guess what?
Israel.
Yes, Israel. He's not supportive of Israel,
yes.
Not hawkish enough against Iran.
Right.
So this is what we've understood. And there was a campaign run. We'll bring this up on screen here. The ADL was involved in basically smearing Daniel Davis. So the Anti-Defamation League involved in defamation. Interesting, isn't it? And then you had top Fox hosts like Mark Levin, here he's up on stage, basically doing victory laps afterwards after lobbying. So all these influencers like Laura Loomer and all these like MAGA Zionist pro-Israeli influencers all piled in and went after Daniel Davis in what is clearly a coordinated attack. So this is incredible. So they've managed to basically veto a top pick for intelligence the Israeli lobby and all these influencers, and they put pressure on Trump and the White House and, work through social media. Unbelievable. So this is incredible. So that's not foreign interference. That's not foreign meddling in the U.S. government. Of course, that's what Russia does, right?
Right.
We're told. So anyway, I think it's important that people will bring his show up on screen here. The best thing we can do at this point is to support Daniel Davis, and go visit his YouTube channel, Daniel Davis Deep Dive. It is absolutely one of the best shows online, like Judge Napolitano. I think even better than some of these other programs, quite frankly. But it's incredible that he nearly got the job, and that would have been such a great thing. But what does it show you, Mike? Why would Israel want to keep someone like this out of a job where they're curating intelligence? And we talked about this on this program in previous weeks. And that's because there is an agenda to wage war and to do a preemptive strike on Iran. And where's the intelligence coming from for that?
Israel.
It's coming from Israel. So will Tulsi Gabbard be compelled to act on what, quote, credible threat intelligence about something Iran is supposed to do? And if not, who would be there to check that? Could be someone like Colonel Daniel Davis to offer a second opinion on that. That's basically what Tulsi probably selected him to do. And sure enough, the Israeli lobby got wind and scuppered the whole thing. So it's unbelievable. And it makes me worry that something is coming down the pipeline. There's an agenda to confront Iran militarily in Washington and in Tel Aviv. And this is a big red flag, Mike.
So 2 questions. Any suggestion about who might be put in place as an alternative? And the other is, does this say anything about Tulsi's chances for staying in the role?
Two good questions, Mike. And I will say that Eldridge Colby, who is another person who is up for a high national security post to be the president's advisor, that's been stalled. And the rumor is because he is not pro-Israel enough. Okay, that's one of them. And then the hostage envoy, Trump's hostage envoy, who is talking to Hamas, I think he's been sacked. And he's Jewish, by the way. So he wasn't, because he was being too friendly to Hamas and not giving enough deference to Netanyahu, apparently. So he's been kicked out. So who's running U.S. foreign policy?
It's pretty clear.
Is it Trump or is it somebody else? Is it Miriam Adelson? Is it the Israeli lobby? Is it Benjamin Netanyahu? So if Benjamin Netanyahu is having the final veto on U.S. foreign policy and military affairs, then who's the president of the United States? Really? All right, guys. So what do you think? Thoughts on this?
It's a
It
big
reminds me of what
opportunity.
Obama used to do. Oh, sorry, Hesher.
Oh, go ahead, man.
I was just thinking, like, didn't Obama do something similar where he was firing a bunch of 5-star generals? They were giving like some sort of litmus test. This is the same kind of thing, isn't it? It's weird that Levin was giving credit to Trump when your research proves that the ADL got heavily involved. Didn't the ADL go after Trump too back in the day?
Yeah.
It's
Went after Musk, went after Trump, went after everybody. Yeah. So it's like that's the real power behind the throne. It looks like, but it's what I guess it's that amorphous blob of psychopaths that Trump talked about in Patrick Bet-David's podcast. And he said it's an amorphous group of psychopaths. He was talking about Adam Schiff and everybody else. So, my gosh. Hesher, what do you think?
Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. A missed opportunity, probably one of many missed opportunities for good position posts, that could have really improved the geopolitical situation and actually work towards peace in regions. I mean, Donald Trump told us he wanted peace, but he didn't tell us he wanted peace through war or, peace through political Zionism's goals. That was not really what we were billed and sold. But that's what we're seeing. And, I think I already mentioned it, but again, my concern right now is that they're just going to destroy Yemen the same way they destroyed Gaza. It's an eyesore for their pal Netanyahu and his buddies. So it just seems to be we're at a huge risk here for seeing yet another genocide, and this has been an ongoing one. Again, this has been an ongoing one for quite a while now. Many people have died. Many non-combatants have died because of the lack of supplies, food, water, and because of direct military intervention through drones and long distance weapons. And for them to try to sell this again, I mean, again, how many times are they going to sell us a genocide on a location? How many times are we going to have that Madeleine Albright moment where, after the fact, years after the fact, someone asks them in public on, whatever, 500,000 dead children, was it worth it? And then they say, yes, absolutely it was. How? Someone show me how it was worth it. Someone show me how that made things better. Someone show me how that made less American troops go fight and die in places that literally do nothing to protect America. I mean, are we going to buy this again? Are we going to we haven't rectified any of these past experiences like this, and we just spent the last almost 2 years watching an ongoing situation, arguably several ongoing situations. One could look at what's going on in Ukraine as a form of genocide also. And really we're going to have a contingent of people in this country who want to see this, who will allow this, who will cheerlead this, who will brigade people that speak out against it, and call them terrorists, in their own country. People just talking into microphones and cameras, typing on social media. Are you kidding me? No, it's ridiculous. And of course they're gonna, the Israel lobby is gonna do what they do, and the American political Zionists are gonna do what they do. And let's not forget how many dual citizens we got up there on Capitol Hill. It's not just Netanyahu, it's not just Israel, it's our own politicians that have these religious and geopolitical hang-ups, illiteracies, fallacies. I don't even know where we should go with that, but it's yeah.
Well, there's also the dual loyalty as well. I mean, we caught Chuck Schumer. I don't know if you guys caught this. This was during the Trump joint session. We zoomed in on that, and like Schumer, boom, he's donning the Ukrainian flag there. You can see on his lapel. So like that he's wearing the Ukrainian flag that day, but the day before he's wearing the Israeli one, probably. And then you've got scenes like this. Like, who is this guy? Where did he come from? How did he get control of our Congress? This little dwarf waltzes in there wearing camo, and basically like he's president of the United States. I mean, what other country does this? What other country allows foreign leaders to walk in and basically take over? Like they do it. Netanyahu, they allow him to do it. They allow Zelensky to do it. And it's just, to me, it's like a ritual act of humiliation. I don't know what a better way to describe it than that, guys. But on the bottom here, you can see Sam As I Am says, you can get a significant number of humans to believe anything, no matter how stupid, especially when reinforced by brainwashing from childhood and threats of exclusion. That's in-group, out-group. That's the basis of groupthink. Very good, very good. Half the population is below 100 IQ as well. Well, that's, some people might push back against that, but some people might say that might be accurate. I don't think IQ is a good objective measure for intelligence personally. But I get the sentiment here. He's saying that, a lot of people are just dumbed down and brainwashed as a result. And I posted a graphic earlier in the week, guys, that showed the intelligence levels are falling in the West. They're falling. Okay. And I was looking at that and I'm thinking to myself, wow, so that this is something that Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, they like seeing that graph taper off. That's the source of all of their wealth, success, power, and sales, is by making us dumber. This is what AI is all about. Switching off your brains. Let the AI do it. So, I mean, I'm thinking tech bros need that graph to go down. If you think it's kind of, that is so dystopic to think about it. Like
And
their share prices will only go up if collective intelligence goes down. What do you think about that for a master's thesis, guys?
100%. And that's the sort of thing, that I've talked about this a lot. As the pendulum swings from left to right, they're all doing each other favors with, all of the most devious things that are happening, like the dumbing down of America. They're all doing each other favors. What do I mean by that? Well, here's one example. Biden did MAGA a huge favor by literally being the worst president we've ever had, by being the most cognitively dysfunctional president we've ever had, the weakest looking president we've ever had. And who capitalized on that? Well, Donald Trump did. Easy peasy. That this script writes itself pretty much. We've been appearing as weak. Well, okay, so I guess that means that anytime you want to flex the muscle for Israel, the MAGA America First crowd, let's not forget what MAGA actually means, which is staggering. The America First crowd will jump behind it and say, yes, cool. That old senile guy was weak. He made us look bad. That's why Russia invaded. That's why Hamas invaded. That's the reason. It's the optics of the president. He looks like a decrepit old man who can't ride a bicycle on pavement. He's just going to fall over. He's just going to surround himself with bald dudes in dresses who steal Louis Vuitton suitcases out of the airport. He's going to surround himself with chicks with you-know-whats, fake boobs hanging out, all out on the White House lawn. And then Donald Trump's going to come in and say, we're not going to be weak anymore, guys. Great, cool, let's not be weak. But all of a sudden, all the MAGA crowd, again, remember what it means, America First, right? Want to get behind this or any sort of, violent, poorly thought out or religiously motivated sort of, maneuvering. So, that whole thing, and same with culture wars. You could throw culture war in there too. Culture war, we allowed that to fester. We never called it out for what it was. When I say we, I mean we as Americans. We did here, that's for sure. To the point where we were bored of it by the time it became popular. And it's there now. It's just there. It hangs there, and every time this pendulum moves, we're just going to get more radicalized right to left and more dumber. So it's like that dumbing down, the culture war, the weakness. You can pretty much pick any topic and look at how the right and the left have framed it over the years. And now how easy it is for them to frame, because everyone is stupid. So many people are dum-dums. So many people are smart people that are geopolitically illiterate or even politically illiterate nationally, have no idea what's going on. So, sorry, the low IQs will continue until morale increases.
Yeah, well, I found an oldie but goodie from our library of archive clips here. This is a vintage Biden. As you brought it up, Hesher, I thought we'd share this. A walk down memory lane. Some of you might have remembered this or not. This is peak, or say peak low IQ for America. This was Joe Biden at his absolute best. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy.
We're likely to lose another 250,000 people dead between now and January. You hear me? Because people aren't paying attention.
You hear me? 250,000 Americans dead. You hear me?
Well, there was that was the classic Biden. Those are the good old days. Just
Your theory
browbeating.
there
Just before
about
the winter
Biden,
of death and destruction, right?
right?
Yeah, exactly. And the 8 trillion on the balance sheet of the Fed causing hyperinflation. Oh, we don't like to talk about that. Oh, because Trump started that one. That was the biggest wave of quantitative easing ever in history. So that's kind of like why we have that's why a tuna sandwich is $20. It's because of that. Oh, Trump did that. Oh, sorry. We had the greatest economy the world has ever seen. That's what they said on the campaign trail. Yeah, but that little bit at the end, Donald, that was kind of important. Own that. Of course, we can blame Biden for plenty. Kind of like, let's just get honest and realistic, because otherwise we shall repeat the same mistakes of the past. So that's our big fear, of course. So, but anyway, let me just take a look here. See, there's all sorts of interesting comments here. We'll try to feature a couple. What's this crackhead country dude? There's a lot of random flotsam and jetsam in the comment sections here. We're looking for jewels and nuggets and pieces of valuable little stones of wisdom. Pearls of wisdom. Destroy the Constitution and you destroy the public like a true Caesar, as Rupert Fellows. I can get behind that sentiment, guys. What about you?
Trump
100%.
likes to look at himself as a Roman emperor of sorts. Have you seen the way he decorates his abode? If I'm not mistaken, all these gold like Roman statues and symbology and stuff. It's been a while since I took a peek. I don't know which one of his homes that has, not Mar-a-Lago, I don't think, but Hesher, your theory there about like as bad as Biden was helped make Trump look better. In fact, like more so than if Trump had just successfully, won his second term. This was much, much better for him because anybody coming after that shit stamp was going to look like caviar. It's the same way the AI works, which is what you were saying, Patrick, and I've been discussing this on my own program, and I think I bring it up on Boiler Room every once in a while, is the fact that the AI is really not that smart. It's not getting smarter. We're getting dumber, which just simply makes the AI look smarter. And that's, cha-ching, big bucks, the big bros and the tech optimists absolutely love that. I'm having trouble speaking today. Sorry.
No, the first step for stopping this hemorrhaging of IQ collectively and getting on the road to being more intelligent is to acknowledge the fact that we are idiots, okay? That our society has collectively turned us or tried to turn us into complete, bumbling, useless idiots. And when we come to that realization, we can then rebuild back towards, I think, a better place. So like admitting the scale of the problem is the first step to, get progress, making it back to some position where people are getting smarter. But the more we get reliant on technology and convenience, really the dumber we're going to be. Just the fact that kids or adults, I don't know how many taxis you guys have been in. Have you ever been in a taxi these days when the GPS goes off or the map's not working? They literally pull over to the side and like just sit there in a catatonic fit or whatever. Like they can't read a map. It's just like, or God forbid, stop and ask someone for directions. But even that's hopeless. I stopped and asked people for directions. People can't give directions anymore. I'm not kidding. So like, where are we? And I know it's well, you don't need maps. We've got GPS, you got satellites. Elon's taking care of that. You don't need the maps. What the fuck's wrong with you guys? You're so old fashioned. So we do need the maps though, because that's like, we can visualize. We used to be able to memorize 8 exits. You say, you look at the map, okay, that's gonna be the first exit, then that town's coming, then that town, and that street. You memorize all that, and you literally, as it's unfolding, so you just look at the map, you take a snapshot, and boom, and it all works. And you get there in the end. Maybe you have to stop and ask for directions, but that's kind of part of the fun. Used to be part of the fun, not anymore. This is a less human interaction. So I think intelligence drops. The less you have human interaction, intelligence drops. That's my working theory.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't even remember how many hundreds of times driving in a 1970s car into San Francisco from the foothills of California or from further northern California, and having to find my way to some dingy club in Oakland or in Richmond or in downtown San Francisco or in Berkeley. All these different spots where we used to go see Primus and Slayer and Obituary and all these great bands. Every single one of those trips was exactly like you just described. And if you're lucky and it's a fun trip like that, you've got a whole van full of friends with you. We used to cruise down to death metal shows in this thing we called the Tan Man van. It was my buddy Matt Man's parents' van, and we could fit like 12 metalheads and the two girlfriends that 12 metalheads could bring in the 90s. It would be people sitting on 18 packs of beer, and somebody with a map. And the driver would have it, in their head. This would all be planned out ahead. It would be part of the fun, and it was part of the fun. And sometimes, yeah, you'd pull over, but you weren't pulling over to wait for Starlink to cruise over. You're pulling over to grab that folded up map from the dash, from the glove box, because you stopped and bought it at a gas station on your last show when you went and saw Deicide or something. It's like, cool, pull that beer stained map out. And two of us will figure out why we're lost while the rest of you open that next 12 pack of beer. You know what I mean? It's not like that anymore. Now it's like, oh, well, we can leave it, let me map the route out here. Oh, we can leave it 6:22 and still have time to stop at Starbucks and get to the show 10 minutes before it starts. And it's like, that's a great luxury. It's nice being sort of an, elder metalhead to have those sort of options. But at the same time, I still know how to pull over, grab that map and get to my concert or my bug out location, in the case that those digital maps aren't available.
We didn't have Starbucks when I was going to gigs, but
True that, man. We were stopping at Denny's for coffee.
Yeah, those were the days, huh? So yeah, that's just indicative of like where we're at, basically. So it's hard to have that discussion with. I mean, some younger people, they just don't really have a concept of it, so that makes you feel a little bit old, a little bit like almost like a Luddite, like a sort of loose wheel. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, superfluous to requirement, but actually no, it's there's some benefit to this of using your brain. Your brain's like a muscle. You don't use it, you get dumber. It's quite simple. And we just using it less and less. I'm so not impressed with the amount of things people are saying we need AI for. A lot of these tasks you can do faster or just about the same amount of time yourself. So if you're not doing, they say, well, but then it's freeing up time to do other things. But a lot of people use AI agents and they put the wrong input in and it ends up getting the wrong result, and then they have to go back and fix it. They say, oh yeah, but that's part of the process. It's part of the process, and it's going to take time to work all this stuff out. So like, what are you really doing? At some point, I think the system is going to basically, half of it's going to fold in on itself, because it's going to be like people are going to be botting fake engagement and fake ads with AI, and then that's going to be feeding itself, and the whole thing just turns into a giant Ponzi scheme of AI generated economic activity and getting paid, like in digital currency for non-existent traffic done by bots, run by AI agents. I mean, whatever. I mean, what do they call it? There's a new content creator category where you like, you're not involved like personally in the content. It's like,
Yeah.
AI channels or anonymous channels without humans in them and using all AI generated voice. And you see these videos on YouTube with Jordan Peterson's voice on it, but somebody else's script, and all these other, this Morgan Freeman variant voice. I think there's another one. And what's the other one? The actor, Timothy Hopkins, I think. And then there's another one with Denzel Washington. His voice has been cloned a lot on Instagram. And it looks like you're watching a Denzel Washington video, giving you the steps of life. Pay attention. I'm going to mentor you for a minute and a half. Here's what you need to do to be a stoic male, kind of thing. It's not Denzel Washington. It's just like it's AI generated. Everything's AI generated. The account is run
including
by an
the
AI
script.
agent. And the script. Yes.
Absolutely. There are social media accounts out there that will teach you, well, business tip for you, will teach you how to set one of those up, and you can literally just type into whichever, AI flavor of your choice. And if you're paying for it for a monthly fee, you're probably going to get better output than other people. So most of these people pay, between $20 and $200 a month for some of these things, but it'll write your script. All you got to do is just tell it, hey, write me an engaging script with a good hook about, fill in the blank. And there you go. And then it's like, okay, write me a voiceover to go with that script in Christopher Walken tone. That would be who I would choose if I was going to do it. I would screw all those other guys. I would use Christopher Walken. I don't want the buttery smooth Denzel. I want Christopher Walken. Something like that. But anyway, you can do that. And then if you're good with the tools, and maybe you're got a high end one, you can have it actually generate the video to go with it. You can have it generate an info babe, a baby, Moodang, the mini hippo. It could be, whatever. You could do 15 channels like that. Arguably financially might be wasting my time right now hanging out with you schleps, because I could be sitting here making $50,000 a month on fake videos, computer generated videos.
Yeah. A David Icke's voice is being cloned as well. That's being used. I mean, is this ZP Zap is one of our intelligent commenters here. He's saying, I recommend not using AI, not even acknowledging it, but I am hardcore hardliner and a very late adopter to tech. Right. So a lot of people can relate to that. I know people in that boat, actually, late adopters. I mean, it's not that I struggle with tech, but there's some techs that I just purposely didn't use because I didn't want to get into it, even though it was available to me for the longest time. It took me so long to get a smartphone. I had that Nokia Banana. I was in that Matrix mindset for so long, and I finally caved and got a smartphone in like 2011 or something like that. Before that, I was hanging on with the laptop, trying to stay off because I didn't want to have that appendage. I didn't want to have a surrogate. I didn't want it to be like an extension of my body. So I was like, I'm going to use the Banana forever. And I had the little Nokia forever, the double SIM card from Somalia, like a African mobile. It was great. But I had to get a smartphone at some point because I was taking video, and I started doing more journalism and reporting, and then it became almost like a necessity. But it's not really a necessity. You can still survive without all these things. You don't need them. But one day there's going to be no smartphones, folks. And there's going to be, things are going to move on to something else. So what are you going to do at that point? You're going to be like socially retarded at that point. It's going to be like,
with a brain chip in your head implanted by a robot.
What do I do now? So yeah, I don't want to get in trouble for being ableist. I'm not doing an imitation of Donald Trump at a rally. I swear. It's not me. But thank you, ZP Zap, for that. And again, we're making fun of the technology, not people, folks. We're just pastiching ourselves and the world. And so crypto, Putin's shirt says, Doge is a money laundering machine. Elon will benefit bigly. That's another thing. He hasn't been pumping the Doge coin, not overtly, but he's managed to get the dog into the Doge Department of Government Efficiency. Very, very slick. So I think he's probably made some money off of the Dogecoin, just like Javier Milei made some money off the Libra before pulling the rug. So yeah, that's another thing, the rug pull. I think this is probably how Elon's going to fund his Mars mission, you guys, by launching a Mars coin, and he can get all of the crypto influencers to pump it. Imagine the Mars coin. We need to raise the money because Trump's not going to be able to, free up the money because of Doge. We just don't have the funds to go to Mars. So let's do a mem coin and get everybody involved, get all the media assets of Elon involved, right? And just pump this thing, pump this mem coin up to go to Mars. And we'll be absolutely hilarious, guys, is if they did that and they got the market cap up to like 500 billion, or no, maybe 750 billion. Almost $1 trillion, right? And all these guys were just looking at their Coinbase accounts, racking up the money, and just think, wow, like billionaires are being created by the second. And then all of these grifters pull the rug on the Mars coin, and it plummets down to nothing. They all make out like bandits. And what an Aesop's fable that would be. That there's going to be no the Mars missions canceled because they pulled the rug on them on the Mars coin, and everyone cashed in and bought yachts instead. I mean, is that a fitting end to this epic tale?
I get confused when I try to like contextualize the richest person on the planet, or we were talking about this on Boiler Room actually on Thursday. Ruckus found this great video that was a visualizer for the national debt. So you start, it's like an animated thing. It's on this Thursday's Boiler Room, which is on our Rumble channel and our YouTube channel. But it starts with a pile like $10,000 or something like that, and it's got something in the background for reference, and it just pulls back and back and back until you get to millions and billions, and you get to see like how many pallets make up a billion. Then it's like you're looking at a dozen football fields stacked with pallets, and then you back up to the national debt, $32 trillion, and it's just pallets like tower, like a dozen pallets towering above the Statue of Liberty. And for Elon to be so rich, for me, it's difficult to fathom what's the benefit to doing weird little meme coins and all that. Does this guy need to make money? Like how, what could you do with that? Or it just like I can't wrap my head around a rich, bazillionaire like Elon Musk or Donald Trump trying to, make extra coin on memes and, whatnot. But at the same time, what you just said is like, I have kind of gotten into the minds of some wealthy people, and they do things like that where it's like, well, I'm going to do this with this so that I can make this or have this or purchase this. And, arguably that's kind of how Elon ended up owning Twitter, which, was, arguably not a good financial decision until everybody saw how it was going to be wielded. And now it's like, oh, you bought the White House and the media. you're in both. You bought the right wing. Holy crap, Elon, you bought the right wing. You bought MAGA. Wow. Neat. How'd you do that? You know what I mean? So it's like, that's just me. I'm used to having a thin bank account and dealing with smaller numbers, but it's hard. I think it's hard for a lot of them. I'm probably speaking for a number of people here. It's very hard for, a sandwich eater, $20 tuna sandwich eater to wrap their brain around what, the richest man in the world might be doing.
A $20 tuna sandwich eater. That's like a new sort of a new profile for people. Like, see,
a new surf.
Look, there goes another $20 tuna sandwich eater. This is based here. This comment, brutally remastered. I've ditched my mobile plan. I don't make any calls. That is so based,
right?
I like
Who wants
that.
Email? Who wants phone calls? At this point, like we've got so much crap coming at us. I can't even keep up with my friends and family because I've got 47,000 unread emails. I've got 88 unheard voicemail messages. I don't even check my snail mail anymore unless I'm expecting a part for my pistol or something. Like who wants all this stuff at this point? It's too much, but at the same time, that is brutally remastered. Your comment fits your name really well today because, for the majority of us, it's like, I can't get a message from Patrick Henningsen unless I have all of these unread notices and all of these other inbound vectors for stuff. Don't even get me started about my Telegram account. My Telegram account currently has, let's see, 72,894 unread messages in however many groups I'm in. Okay. So it's just like, I have more than I can humanly process at any given moment just by opening X, mind you, much less all of these stupid red bubbles on my phone. My email had like 70,000, an equivalent amount I just cleaned it out recently, and it was thousands. It was tens of thousands of email, given a lot of it's junk and crap, but there's important stuff in there. So at this point, it's like I don't blame someone like Brutally for just being like, no, I'm not even taking the calls anymore.
Yeah, I don't take calls either. It's my least favorite thing to do. We have changed our communication patterns. Here's the best comment of the day, though. Well, that one's pretty good. Get your free government lobotomy. I like that. Ghost in the machine. But this is Holly Hollingsworth, one of our longtime, listeners and commenters. I've always been socially retarded. I love the brutal honesty there. Brutally honest, not just brutally remastered, but brutally honest. Holly, thank you for showing some levity and taking the air out of our collective overinflated intellectual tires here on the Sunday Wire, because things are just getting so wacky. I think we're all just I think there's just been a massive downgrade socially, and I think people like Elon are responsible for it. I'm going to put the blame where the blame is due. Donald Trump is also responsible for it, and hopefully there'll be a backlash, and this will sort of lead to something better in the future. I guess we got to see how low we can go, folks, before we can make it back onto some sort of path. I mean, Elon's promising that he's going to have a manned mission to Mars by 2029. 2029, maybe 2030, maybe 2029 if we move really quickly. I mean, who buys that? Honestly, like, take us to the moon. Put a man on the moon. Let's go.
And good luck getting me to buy that too after all your shenanigans. You know what I mean? It's like the footage I saw recently of this moon trip, and the footage I saw the other day of Crew 10 hooking up with ISS. Like, I'm sorry, that stuff is all so sketchy. It is so sketchy. Like, Grok could make that video in 10 seconds.
Yeah, right. Oh my God, Grok's making videos. Grok's makes some pretty sick images, though. I've used it on occasion. I can't even release some of the stuff I've done, like the Elon Musk memes that I've created on Grok that are just him and Netanyahu and Trump.
Patrick, did you know that Grok 3 now has a not safe for work mode? We just heard about this the other day.
Really?
So if you want to, you can have like a nice little sexy chat with your Grok now. So I can only imagine the pictures it's going to put out. Wow.
Oh, really? Okay. So that's where it's headed. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Shocked? Surprised? No.
That's what Elon's going to end up being, guys.
He went on Joe Rogan to say that too. So it's like he advertised that to probably, the first or third biggest audience in all of podcasting. So it's like, he didn't just slip it in there and let anybody find it. It's like slipped it in there and then went and advertised the crap out of it. So you know that the not safe for work Grok mode is probably being used in workplaces all over the country, all over the world now.
Yep. We are drowning in garbage at this point, says the Ghost Machine. And Kurt Boss with the Heath Ledger Joker PFP there. Tesla lose 80% of global sales. LOL. Just, I like this one. This is Sam As I Am says, I worked in the homes of billionaires doing $1 million home theater installs. Okay. Yeah, that's the way to roll.
Nice.
Right? That's the way. That's called wealth distribution right there. You're making money off the rich guys. So good on you for that. Oh, and this one's pretty good. Rupert Fellows. Tommy Robinson eats a lot of tuna. He has the tin sent to him in prison. That's so cruel. Rupert Fellows. Brutal. Absolutely brutal.
Love it.
Brutally frank. So we've got brutally honest, brutally frank, and brutally remastered. And Putin shirt. Thanks all you guys for your great wisdom there. And I'm just learning how to multitask some of these features, just because I was so busy with delivering information that, working the comments and stuff like that. It's always at the very end of my list of things. But I vow to do more of that going forward. At least on some shows, we're going to be featuring your amazing pearls of wisdom there in the comment threads. Thank you guys for your participation. We really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, final thoughts before we break up this conclave, this unholy conclave here on the Sunday Wire.
Unholy conclave of socially retarded people.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. That's us. That's us. We are like, yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed the commentary, and big shout out to everybody on Rumble. We got some great comments coming in over there. Some great comments coming in natively at the 21stcenturywire.com site as well. We got little Carol and El Cid in there, and a bunch of our other friends. I think Holly's up in there. Great to see everybody. We got Bad Andy, Jokers for You, Pamela Drew, Musical Help. So many people over there on Rumble as well. And then we got a bunch of friends in the Boiler Room Discord that always tune in. So a big shout out to all the regulars over there. The memes have been flying. The comments have been flying. The brutal social retardation shall persist here at Alternate Current Radio. And we're really glad you guys are all here with us. So, and we'll keep it going. Join us for Boiler Room Thursday nights. If you missed any, go to our Rumble or go to our website, alternatecurrentradio.com. Please support everybody on this call and everybody that you find value with if you're able to. And if you're not, well, you can share the stuff like mad. Share it like the social retard that you are. Double share it, triple share it. We really appreciate that. And thanks, Pat, for having me, and look forward to the next one.
Thank you very much. Bryan McClain-Hesher, host of the Boiler Room as well on the Alternate Current Radio Network. When's your next broadcast, Bryan?
Well, there might be a special emergency broadcast tonight, actually. It's because Mark Anderson, the Truth Hound, and Spore and I were talking yesterday, and we've noticed an alarming set of, I don't know, what we think could potentially be predictive programming revelation of the method here in Texas. So this will be sort of specific to Texas, but it will reference a lot of wildfire sort of events that we've seen in California, in Lahaina, and others. We're getting inundated right now with red flag warnings about wildfires here in Texas, as though we have like huge forests that are unkempt or something, or, you know, like the Dallas Metroplex could burn down. What do you mean? It's all cement. So there's some strange things going on, and we want to get out ahead of it and get our opinions in on that. We're going to talk about weather modification and wildfires and climate change and all that good stuff. So there's a chance we'll be on air tonight around 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central, 7 Pacific. And then, of course, we'll have our weekly show this coming Thursday, sometime around 9 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, if you can supply us with an update, Boiler Room, also with your show times on it, we can flash that up in future. And the same with the Daily Ruckus, although I love this graphic. But yeah, if you guys if you have any updated looks or graphics for us that we can put on our rotation with your show times on there as well, that would be great. Ruckus, when is the next installment of your podcasting masterpiece?
Hopefully tomorrow, but I don't know. Now there's a Boiler Room tonight. I might have to miss Boiler Room tonight, Hesher, so I can finish the Daily Ruckus. If I don't get it out tomorrow, it will definitely be out for Tuesday. The only reason I won't have it available tomorrow is because on Mondays, I do a little side thing with Sam Chaney over at Weaponized News, and I help him co-host his nightly program. He does it Monday through Friday, but I just join him every Monday now. But yes, I do have a brand new one. I can actually, I'll give you a little sneak peek with the graphic there. I'm doing a 3-part series. The entire series is called 12 Bummers Coming. It's actually a series within another series, because I was doing a series themed around the 12 days of Christmas called the 12 Days of Ruckus. And this is part of the day 12. Instead of 12 drummers drumming, it's 12 bummers coming. But I had to break it up into 3 parts. So the first part will cover 5 of the bummers as seen in this graphic so that you can get an idea. It's all technocracy stuff, ladies and gentlemen, boys and squirrels. And it's exciting. It's going to cross-reference a lot of things that we were discussing here on the Sunday Wire, along with a lot of the things we talk about on Boiler Room. And speaking of Boiler Room, you will also find me over there, of course, with Hesher and Spore and all the other fine folks. Infidel Pharaoh, we were just hanging out with Randy J this week. So if you missed it, make sure you check that out. That was exciting. And yeah, so lots of stuff going on. But yeah, I'll have my 3-parter coming out real soon. So it'll either be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or it'll be Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday kind of thing. But it will be out this week, I promise. I have portions of it already pre-recorded just to make sure that the important stuff didn't get messed up, because I was having trouble. I'm not going to lie, a lot of tech issues, but we got that squared away now. So thanks for having me on the Sunday Wire. This has been a blast as usual.
Daily Ruckus looking good. And Hesher, did you ever get to see Dune 2, this the sequel?
I did. I saw it twice, actually.
What'd you think?
I thought it was pretty good. I'm a Frank Herbert reader, enjoyer. So that book series I really devoured and enjoyed in my teenage years, and even enjoyed David Lynch's make of it. But I thought that the new series is done really well. I know some people kind of thought it was boring or whatnot, but as a Frank Herbert enjoyer, book enjoyer, for me it was I liked it. It was a thumbs up, and I felt like it's timely. I feel like the story is timely because it's got a little bit of everything in it. You know what I mean? It has and imperialism is pretty much the main topic. Imperialism, degenerate leaders, what it takes to overthrow a degenerate leader, and how not to become one are all kind of wrapped up in there, So I loved it. I thought it was great.
There's a bit of the Houthis in there as well.
Yeah, I was when I watched. Absolutely. It's got a little bit of a Middle Eastern vibe to it, and it's again perfect timing for that. And I think it really brought the aesthetic that Frank Herbert would give to our minds as readers. I thought it brought it a pretty good visual, and I thought Chalamet was a pretty good Paul, and most of the casting was pretty good. Some weird stuff here and there if you want to nitpick, but overall I enjoyed it.
Yeah, the sound design on that, the Dolby, and it's like another level. That's the thing that really struck me about those films, is how the audio and sound design is done is like on another level. I've never felt that in a film, that level of penetrating, but not too disturbing, but very penetrating sound effects and score.
Yeah,
pretty amazing.
And the scale, I thought that the scale of the visuals, the CGI when it comes to the vessels and the ships and the worms and everything, like it doesn't feel like you're being spoon fed or beer bonged into your third eye like a Marvel movie or something. Like it has a tactile sort of feel to it, like you could almost imagine touching one of these items, whereas you can't if you're watching Thor or something like that. So I thought that was really well done, and just the monolithosity, if I may make up a word to describe like a lot of the vessels and the fortresses and stuff, some of those full planet views. I mean, really, really well done. It felt very like awe-inspiring, just the size of some of these things and how like video realistic they looked.
Yeah, I would like to see that that type of production for Battlestar Galactica or something.
Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome.
A cinematic series for that, like a 3-part or something. That would be cool. On the side, I don't want to nerd out on sci-fi films too much, but I did see there's a good film, surprisingly, with Robert Pattinson called Mickey 17, and it's based on a type of not an insect, but it's called a tardigrade. And I don't know if you saw that science story where tardigrades can survive space travel, and they
go to Mars.
Yeah, they go to Mars. So these are basically it's the U.S. or Earth or whatever trying to colonize a planet with a giant tardigrades on it, thinking that they can wipe them out. And it was, and the tech and all the advanced transhumanist stuff in there is pretty incredible. So it's actually a very good film. It's not super high budget, but it's got some very interesting concepts, and Robert Pattinson is actually a pretty good actor, despite all his teen throb years. You know, he's actually matured into kind of a credible character actor. So he was good in that. And the other one is Lost Lands. I don't know if you've heard about this film, Lost Lands, with Batista's in it. It's very surreal. But it's also a pretty incredible, more steampunk, retro sci-fi kind of thing. But it's visually really quite striking. So again, with that CGI, but with the texture and the environment, the graininess of it, it almost in a strange way, it almost kind of works, basically.
Interesting. Well, now I'm going to completely destroy what you just said about not nerding out too much, but it's your fault. I'll be brief. There's a Star Trek series called, I think it's Discovery, Star Trek Discovery, and they power their ship, right? Their version of Enterprise, which is, a version of Discovery, I think. This might be in a couple of, we've got a couple Trekkies in the chat that can correct me if I screw this up, but there is a modern iteration of Star Trek, and the ship actually functions on a tardigrade. They actually, the engine, right? Is a creature, and it uses like spores. So shout out to Spore, but they have like a spore drive and this tardigrade creature that actually gives them their faster than light capability. So that's interesting that this is starting to come up more and more in sci-fi now.
Oh yeah. There's I find that to be fascinating as well when you're talking about the biologicals, microscopic organisms, and existing on other planetary environments. And what's funny about Mickey 17 is that they're calling them the aliens, like they're native to that planet. They still we need to fight these aliens. Like no, they're not the aliens, they're the natives. So it had a real political, like the remake of Battlestar Galactica did, in the early 2000s. There was a lot of politics and religion woven into the storylines, which made it really kind of very interesting. So this film, Mickey 17's got some of those tech and political issues woven in nicely into the story, which makes it even more interesting. So yeah, but maybe we'll have to do a special sci-fi review of the top sci-fi films the last couple of years. Maybe
there you go. That's a great idea.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Yeah, so that's it, folks. That's what one of the things we do when we're not crunching geopolitics on the side. I am partial because I am from the Star Wars generation. So
that's right. We know how to nerd out over here in the background. And Patrick Spore just sent me some breaking news here that relates to what we're going to be talking about tonight. We were hoping to get out ahead of things like this, but here you go. Crews battling 8,640 acre crabapple wildfire near Fredericksburg, right here in Texas. So here we go. We'll talk about this tonight with Mark Anderson.
Okay, so tune in to alternatecurrentradio.com. Follow Hesher, Bryan McClain, Hesher Media. You see it if you're watching on X. You'll see the at Hesher Media. That's in the title of this program, and at AC_wordslinger Ruckus. We're going to convince Ruckus to try to change his ID to Ruckus itself, so it's easier to find you on social media.
I tried.
We'll work on. Freddie did it. Freddie's got a new handle. It's brilliant. Freddie_Ponton used to have LFC News Media. We can that same account, new combo name, and it's worked out really well. So I do. Hopefully we'll nudge Ruckus a little bit. So he's like find a way to.
I wouldn't mind AC_Ruckus. I'm not gonna lie.
AC_Ruckus. I think it's available. Cool. Yeah,
I'll look into it, people.
Yeah. So we'll or brutally Ruckus. How about
there you go.
Brutally Ruckus. Everything's brutally. So yeah, thanks guys. I appreciate it. It's been very good chat, and thank you everybody in the chat rooms, various chat rooms, for tuning in. Really appreciate your guys' support as well. We've had a few donations during the winter fundraising drive, and that's been absolutely amazing. Really appreciate your support, the donations. Plus, we've had a couple of subscriptions to 21wire.tv, which has been great. And you'll also notice that we're launching new programming. The midweek wire is going well. There's our winter fundraising drive. Just go to my X profile, hit donate and support. You can find out ways to get involved there. Credit card, PayPal, crypto, subscribe, become a member at 21wire.tv. We'll try to do more show and tell on 21wire.tv in the coming weeks. But yeah, any support you can give us, folks, we absolutely need it. We are being absolutely hammered on the censorship and the algorithms for some reason. This has never stopped, quite frankly. We've got a little bit of breathing space on some of these platforms like Rumble and X, but even Elon's pushing us down quite heavily on the algorithm in terms of visibility. We have very good engagement on these platforms, but not great visibility for some reason. I think that's what the CEO, Linda Yaccarino, said: freedom of speech, but not freedom of reach. If we don't like your speech, we won't give you freedom of reach. So that's what they said. I didn't make it up. It's not me, that's them. But yeah, and again, big important story with Trump bombing Yemen, along with Britain and Israel. What's that going to lead to? We don't know. And also, we did a space last night, actually, on Yemen. You can see that on our X feed. That was a great space. We had Ryan Dawson, Simon Dixon, as well as other great speakers, Suppress News. We had a great lineup. We broke down a lot of the key issues there as well. So you can find that on my X feed. Just scroll down. You'll see that space from Saturday night. That was a really good program. So again, just another thing we're doing, another extra bit of programming on X Spaces. You can catch us there. We're usually doing Friday or Saturday, doing a space. Sometimes a few other opportunities to do that, especially when there's breaking news. You can always keep an eye on us. We'll put a good team together and get you the facts that you need to find out what's actually going on. So anyway, that's all we got time for, folks. Appreciate you. Appreciate everybody there. Thank you for your listenership, for your viewership. I'm Patrick Henningsen, your host. This has been the Sunday Wire, a great omnibus episode here, and great contributions from our friends and colleagues at ACR, Hesher and Ruckus. Listen, guys, take care. We'll see you soon. All the best.
Brothers and sisters, we're being divided. Don't believe what they say. Hold on to your soul. Everyone divided in an echo chamber hole, saying that the enemy doesn't have a soul.
witness to splatter on their page. Friendships fall to pieces, judge and then condemn. Turn it into chaos, this society of men. Everyone divided in an echo chamber hole. In love with conflict and illusions of control. Divide them with opinion, judge them ruthlessly.
lose contact. They watch our every move. They examine our togetherness like we've got something to prove. I've looked behind your eyes. I've seen the sadness you hide. I've looked into your eyes. I've seen the tears that you've cried. No, I won't get used to these chains. No, I won't get used to these chains. In the legal arena, upset theaters are staged. She moves in circles. Her cruel games cause delays. From the questions you ask me, like why can't you come home tonight? From the moment you hold me, it's the shortest hour of my life. No, I won't get used to these chains. I've got to be careful with what I say. Their conspiracy of silence, they think the truth will lead you astray. They say that they're here for you, but they never listen to what you say. They've built walls between us. I will walk through walls to break these chains. No, I won't get used to these chains. No, I won't get used to these chains.